welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Sagittarius, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November 2024. Happy birthday, impending birthday season for you all. And abject apologies for this taking so long to get to you. It was a combination of issues involving a full house rewire, which knocked back my working abilities by about a week. And then I think I got so stressed about it, I've actually knacked my immune system a little bit because I've just come down with grossness. So I'm feeling a little bit better, so we're going to just keep ploughing through. But I appreciate you, and I'm very, very grateful for your patience, so thank you. Anyway, what else do I have to tell you? There will be an extended at the end. You can access that via the first link in the description box below, underneath this video. And also, the second link takes you to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix over on the Circle platform. There you can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost, plus hang out with some awesome people if that's what you would like to do. So, without any more ado, let's press the right button. That would help, and flip you around. So let's see what's going on with Sag. Could I have 3 cards for Sagittarius, please? Whoa. We have the 8 of Cups in reverse. In your recent past, about current energy, please. Oh, that one was quite... Oh, Ace of Cups. All right. What's coming towards Sag for the rest of November, please? Fire. We have the 9 of Wands, a Sagittarius card right there. Moon in Sag, actually. And we have the Moon at the bottom of the deck. Like, you feel a little bit like you've been being pummeled to me, Sagittarius, in one way or another. Let's have a look. Let's see which one of these 2 decks wants to come out and be... okay, and be the clarifiers, because this Moon card, which is actually the only major arcana energy on the table right now, it represents for me the sign of Cancer, and it talks about you. It talks about the inward path. I mean, in some ways, you could say that it refers to a period of introspection, but it's a little less. What's the word that I'm looking for? Conscious than that, because it is the workings of the subconscious mind. You know, it's what's going on beneath the radar, and it's deeply, deeply emotional, and quite likely canny complex too. Now, when you combine that with the 8 of Cups and the Ace of Wands, what we've got is kind of like a... not necessarily a flood of emotion, but certainly emotional things coming up to the surface that require some sort of dealing with. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a resurfacing of old situations that are making you feel some kind of way. It could well just be the realization that you're feeling some kind of way, and then the journey to work out what that is, because the Moon is quite a distorted energy. Interesting, we've got the 8 of Cups in the upright at the bottom of the deck here. We don't always see things as clearly as we could do. You know, if the Sun card were at the bottom there, I mean, not only would that be more comfortable for you because it represents Leo, it's fire sign energy, so it's something that you find much easier to work with. But the Sun represents that direct beam of light from your consciousness where you see something, you acknowledge something, you make sense of something. Things seen by moonlight, they can give you an idea of the broad shape of a thing, but it's actually quite difficult to focus in on the detail. And I think that what this time frame here that we're looking at is the process of realizing that there's something that's kind of emotionally wandered off for you a little bit. Now, what do I mean by that? Let's get some cards on the table and I'll explain. Tell me about the 8 of Cups in reverse. Okay, thank you. We have 7 of Swords, 3 of Pentacles, Ace of Cups, please. Wow. The Devil and the Empress. And what about this 9 of Wands? We have the Moon reversed. Amazing. And the 10 of Swords reversed. Right, Page of Swords is at the bottom of the deck. I mean, in some ways, I feel like you've been trying to get a handle on yourself somewhat, Sagittarius. Now, emotions are running high right across the planet at the moment anyway. You know, we know that that's not a particularly US-centric situation. You know, there are issues everywhere. And so emotional energies are kind of rippling around the planet at the moment, and they're meaning different things to different people. And I think what's quite interesting is that the major arcana energy that is at play for you, Sagittarius, is all happening beneath the radar. Now, Sagittarius, as a fire sign, in the same way that air signs do, project outwards, right? So Leo, Sagittarius, Aries, outward. Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, outward. The water signs and the earth signs take into themselves. It's much more inward processing than outward expressing. So the things that are happening below the level of the radar for you are all about that inward wrestling that's been going on, right? Where we can't quite see the edges of things. And like I said, I do feel like you're trying to get a handle on yourself. What do I feel? What do I think? Why do I feel like that? Why do I think like that? What is missing from the puzzle here? That's what I feel like you've been trying to... it feels like it's the thing that you've been circling for a little while, Sagittarius. And although things may be going well outside of you, or equally they may not, right? And that probably very much depends on your perspective at this point, there's altogether something else that is happening within. And if there is a level of confusion that you're feeling at the moment about the right path forwards, about what any of anything means, including your own internal space, then I think realizing that there is a big adjustment going on within you is a really important part of this puzzle. And some of you may have already got to the point where you've realized that anyway, in which case this is simply a confirmation of what you already know. But it does indicate that this situation is improving quite rapidly over the rest of this month. So let's start over here with this Eight of Cups in reverse. The Eight of Cups in the upright, being 8, talks about power and where our power can be found, right? And it's a slightly oblique energy, that of the 8, because the 8s quite often seem to indicate stuckness, or a static sort of position. And we could spend a whole hour talking about the energy of 8, and we're not going to do that today. We're just going to simply note that in some way or another, the 8 of Cups represents a reclamation of emotional power for you, where you put down something that you've been carrying for a long time and enable yourself to move away, right? You've quite literally got the weight of these glasses and the water that they contain, because that is actually what represents emotions in the tarot, being evaporated, essentially, right? Thus making these cups a little less heavy to bear. Now, when it shows up in the reverse, instead of this aspect of moving away from, we've got a kind of returning to sort of energy, much like the Six of Swords in reverse also indicates the same kind of going back to something that has already been departed away from. So we've got a return to some sort of emotional state, some sort of issue with an emotional component to it, that's asking you to unpack what it is so that you can understand it and then move it forwards. Now, we'll kind of get to this bit in a second here, but the Seven of Swords and the Three of Pentacles is an interesting thing, because I can see it going off in two different directions here. The first, very clearly for me, is a level of distrust that is possible in the people that you have around you. Now, there may be no real reason in the here and now why you should distrust that somebody is trying to pull in the same direction as you. And the issue may well be the fact that the distrust is surfacing in the first place. It's like, well, if actually nothing has changed outside, why do I feel this sense of mistrust starting to arise? And the answer would be that something about this situation is reminding you of somewhere that you've been before. Please do recall that this is the recent past, right? So that could be one aspect that we're looking at here. The other aspect could be around the need to understand your place from a leadership position. Well, why do I say that? Because the Seven of Swords quite often talks about planning and strategy, right? And so in my head already, we're kind of pushing forward to what is it that Sagittarius is needing to be strategic about what is it that they're needing to mentally prepare themselves for, because that's how I'm seeing this going on here. In terms of how you organise people around you, whether this is family, whether this is friends, whether there's a community component to this, it doesn't really matter. It's like the theme of the thing is playing out that way. I know a canny few Sagittarians, and I don't think it's a gross generalisation to say that, generally speaking, Sagittariuses prefer to steer their own ship. They're not really as interested as perhaps Leo are or Aries are in stepping forwards and being either the figurehead or being the one who makes all the decisions for the benefit of other people. That tends to be a position that sort of stresses them out a little bit. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it, but it's sometimes it can be quite a stressful position. What do we have here? Yeah, right. So we have the Five of Wands, Saturn in Leo, a state of conflict. And we can see this actually working either way that you look at the cards here. Yeah, right. Burden, conflict. Do you feel like you're working together with people, or do you feel like you're pulling, that you're doing all the heavy lifting here in some way or another? You know, you could be conflicted about leadership. You could be conflicted about trust. In either case, and you must decide which one resonates with you, if at all. These cards here suggest to me that you're actually making this harder for yourself than you need to, right? The Ten of Wands is a very welcome card, and actually in the Triple Goddess, it's the only tarot deck that I own where somebody is depicted as reaching an end by realizing that they need to rest and they need to put the sticks down. Now, you could question whether there's enough fun in your life. You could question whether you know, you're getting enough of the things that you need as a Sagittarius, you know, kind of a certain amount of unpredictability, right, whilst maintaining a general direction of travel that you like to go in. It could speak to the stress that you're feeling about potential leadership or potential needing to be the person who is strategizing, but it could be the stress of feeling like you're kind of pulling on your own within a group of people. And there isn't necessarily the consensus that you would like. And we can see how all of these things are playing out. Like I said, you've got to pick the one that works with you. But at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Ace of Cups. And this is quite interesting because what this does is contextualize the fact that whatever is going on with you right now, it's less about your external environment. It's a little less about the people that you're dealing with and a little bit more about the relationship that you have with yourself. Now, I talk about the relationship that we have with ourselves a lot on this channel, but I don't often explain why it is that I feel like that is so important, and maybe it's worth taking a minute on that here, right? As an agent of the universe, as the universe literally in a meat suit experiencing itself right now, which is what I think human life is about and why it's necessary for us to learn and all of these sorts of things. Trust in the self is trust in the universe. Faith in oneself is faith in the universe, because you are literally it experiencing itself. Where issues of distrust arise, where on the one hand, or issues around not being sure that you are going to be able to make a kind of authoritative leader that somebody is going to listen to, and even if you know, whether you wanted to do that or not, all of these are reflections of some deeply held issue that you have on an emotional level with yourself, and then by extension with the universe, right? So you might find yourself being kind of resentful about the fact that you seem to be having your visibility increased, right? People are increasingly looking to you for guidance, increasingly looking to you as an authority. That might be something that's stressing you out. But equally, it could be that, like I said before, this sense of mistrust in the people that are around you. And it's like, well, why am I putting in all of this effort when other people are not, right? Again, it's nothing to do with this external situation. It's all to do with this relationship that you have with yourself. And you see, we've got this little trifecta of cards here, with the moon is obscuring things. It's making stuff a little distorted. It's giving you a vague idea of what's going on, but it's not giving you the detail. And we've got the Ace of Cups, which are, you know, the card saying, I said what I fucking said. This is all about you, Sag, and how you are emotionally processing the situation that you're in. You know, I've been talking for, I think now, well over a year about Sagittarius stepping up to lead, to take charge, to certainly be a guide of some sort in the coming turmoil. Because please don't think that November the 5th saw the beginning and the end of all of that. It starts properly from here. So this is about getting yourself good with how you feel, so that what you're looking for is what you see out in the world. Right, well, that is always true. What you are looking for is what you will see. And if there's any doubt about that at all, you try working with your reticular activation system. It'll shock you. It really will shock you. What you're seeing is an external expression of what you're feeling inside. Right? And we see this even deeper when we come down here, because we see the Devil and we see the Empress. Now, I would not leap to this necessarily being a bad thing, but let's get rid of the obvious interpretation, which is that the Devil here is representing some sort of kind of deeply held fear that makes you feel stuck and trapped in the moment. And maybe that is what is the issue here. You feel stuck and trapped, either through mistrust, and why the fuck should I help all of these people when we're clearly not on the same fucking page and I don't even know if they're trustworthy, or you know, this whole situation is stressing me the fuck out because responsibility equals commitment equals, in some degree or another, to some degree or another, standing still. Like, that's classic Devil energy. But there is another way to look at it, and particularly as it relates to the Empress card here, and we're reading them together. Both of them in their own way speak to things that are earthly and material. It's saying, Sagittarius, come back to your body. Because I do wonder if part of what has happened here, is that these emotional issues have surfaced and the brain has looked for a way to, what's the word that I'm looking for? Reconcile all of this, right? To create a story around it that sees then a deeper level of understanding of what is actually going on in the situation. But we have the moon there, and the moon is distorting everything. The moon is saying your subconscious is playing a huge part in what's going on here. And whichever way it's expressing, and please don't think that that is all that those cards say, because they probably say considerably more. Well, they do say considerably more, but we're just going to stick with those two aspects here for the sake of today. We're talking about that working out where your mind and your emotions are writing stories for you that aren't necessarily true. That's where I'm trying to go with this, right? But the Devil and the Empress is like, here, in this material realm, right now, right in front of you, taking into account that maybe your emotions are saying something and they're flagging something up for you, right? I'm not talking about just ignoring what your emotions are saying, but see it for what it is, which is an opportunity to go deeper, because the moon wants you to go deeper always. And when it comes to the relationship that you have with yourself and how that then is a reflection of the relationship that you have with the universe, then there is no depth that is too deep for you to go to in the exploration of that. I get a sense here of there being some part of you that kind of wants to bolt and run, Sagittarius, because it feels trapped, it feels restricted. And I mean, the truth of the matter is, you might just be working too fucking hard. You know, the simple solution to this would be simply stop doing so much heavy lifting, right? Spread the load around a little bit, particularly if you are, you know, have other people around you, family. Family, friends, community, all that sort of thing, right? But it's just one aspect of things. If you're working too hard, if you're tired, if you're exhausted, then in all likelihood you're not making good judgments for yourself, not to the extent that you could do. But because the devil rules everything in the material realm, and the Empress speaks about creativity within the material realm, sometimes, I mean, not always, it's Libra and Taurus, so we have both mental and physical, mental and material rather. But the Empress is about expression of creativity. Now, the devil is saying that some aspect of you feels like it's locked up, possibly, and what it wants to do is be creative right now. And all of these things are asking you to kind of look within. What's the emotion that's tweaking right now that is demanding attention and giving a bit of weight to this feeling of just like, fuck it, I just want to shift away from this. And how can you bring yourself back to be in your body? I mean, for some of you, it may be simply what you need to do is just a little bit more exercise, right? It's something that is very you-focused. I'm not talking about carting boxes around or doing heavy lifting that needs doing in the garden or anything like that, although you could do that. It's like, pick a thing that you want to do and then do it because it feels good. Look at this. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, because these are becoming a little bit discoloured now, right? But this is the Sagittarius coin right here. Is the camera going to focus? I think there we go. I have to cover the rest of the camera. Of all the coins that I got, the one that demonstrates the abject physicality of a fire sign is this one. Look at that. It's just ripped, right? Absolutely ripped as a character. But it's even in movement. Now, what am I getting at here? Maybe you have responsibilities, maybe you have duties, and maybe this next level of whatever it is that you're approaching is feeling like it's a little bit too much because it's threatening that loose and free movement that you can have when you're not committed to something, right? So your nervous system's kind of responding to it a little bit and going, But part of the maturation of your sign, in my opinion, would be learning to let an arrow fly and actually going after it, right? Not just kind of meandering and getting distracted on side quests, right? But realizing that in some way or another you chose what you have here. So you can choose not to, if that's what you want. But I think when you dig down into it, that isn't what you want at all, Sagittarius. I think most of you do want this. It's just that some aspect of the relationship with yourself either doesn't trust yourself to see it through, or doesn't trust yourself to maintain good boundaries well enough that you maintain your freedom on the other side of that. What about the devil and the Empress? Look at this. We've got the Knight of Pentacles representing commitment and discipline and that slow-moving energy that we fire signs find utterly fucking abhorrent, right? Let's be honest. But we're combining it with the Eight of Wands. Now, the Eight of Wands is a Sagittarius card, and it's Mercury in Sagittarius. It talks about amplification. It talks about acceleration. But it comes by way of getting the fucking message. Right? Whether this is a literal email that's coming through, right? Whether it's a message that's coming via some sort of instant messaging service by a friend, right? Or whether it is kind of seeing the bigger picture of what's happening here. Like this, we've got the Four of Swords at the bottom of the deck. That is my card of meditation. Now, I'm not saying that you all need to go meditate, but if you don't, it would be a good time to start. We're talking about the mental piece that comes from whatever you are engaged in right now. It's because you're choosing to. Now, that can be quite a weird thing for people to get their heads around sometimes, right? We just focus on the duty, the responsibility. And when it comes to things like, I don't know, looking after family, looking after children, looking after your animals, all that kind of thing, you could quite rightly go, and it would be understood that you said this, like, I can't not do this. Like, I can't do this. I can't just give up on this because who else is going to do it? Who's going to take up the slack, right? The stress of being where you are. And I get it. I understand. But what we need then in this situation is a tweak of the mental processes that are associated with this, right? Because you're having an emotional reaction of some sort for sure. But the tweak is, I choose to do this. It's simply that. I can't tell you how many times I got over the years, over the last 5 years, where I've got really, really stressed out because I've had a whole heap of work in front of me, and sometimes it feels like an edifice the like of which, you know, the fucking Great Wall of fucking Game of Thrones, right? And I'm like, I've got to fucking scale that wall, and I've got to do it in less time than there are hours in the day. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? And I get overwhelmed with it, and then I start going like, I fucking hate this job. I want to do it. Fucking do it. The point when I realised that this was my brain that was doing this to me, I was like, okay, well, how can I talk to my brain so that it's not having a freak out like it appears to be right now, and re-empower it in some sort of way? Because that's what I am uniquely interested in, issues of empowerment, right? And it's simply that. No, I chose this. I chose this because I fucking hated working in bars. I hate being around drunk people. I find it vexatious to my very fucking soul to be in those kind of environments. I couldn't do the career that I wanted. I hated working in pubs. I chose to do this. I have created this for myself. Can you see already how this feels different? Now, if you have certain non-negotiable responsibilities, and maybe those are increasing, right? And maybe this is where the stress is coming from. To sit down with yourself and say, I choose this. I choose to be committed to this. I choose to be committed to that, whatever it is. It is that little mental tweak. It is you getting the message that you need to hear. And it isn't changing what's going on outside of you, but it's changing the way that you see it. It is changing what you are focusing on in that moment. You see how the Page of Swords and the Four of Swords, I'm smiling because I've just noticed that the King of Swords is set underneath there, right? Aquarius energy. Pluto is moving into Aquarius very soon. Maybe that's agitating some of the more rebellious feelings that Sagittarius and well, everybody might be having right now, right? Because it's generation-defining planet. What does it take to get the message that you're not stuck and that you are actually actively creating your existence? What kind of message would need to jump into you, drop into your emotional space, drop into your mental space that would completely revolutionize the way that you're seeing your situation? And, you know, the potential increase of responsibility and duty that is seemingly coming into your material life now. How do you change your perspective so that you don't feel trapped? That you in fact feel empowered and creative instead? Well, I think the rest of November actually contains that for you, because there we have your card, a follow on from the Eight of Wands. I fucking love tarot and the way it all weaves together. I swear to God. Getting the message, putting it into action. Now, there are two facets of this card that we need to look at in the first instance, right? The first is the fact that it is symbolic of the moon. We already have the moon on the table. We've already talked about the Ace of Cups and what is being reflected back to you and what is being distorted and not truly understood properly, right? This is a deep emotional issue. So we've got activity on that front, right? Oh my goodness, I've got the message. I understand what I need to do. This is what I'm going to do. And the emotional stuff sorts itself out because it's being attended to, it's being listened to, but it's being dealt with differently. That's one aspect of this. The other aspect of this is the idea that the Nine of Wands represents boundaries. Now, in a standard deck, such as the Waitsmith here, for example, that Nine of Wands shows a fucked up dude who's hanging on his wand. It's got, you know, his head bandaged and his arm bandaged, and he looks hunted, he looks haunted. He's seen so many things, everything's so hard, and he knows it's not done yet. I think there's a lot that is contained in that card. Boundaries would stop him being in this state of probably legitimate catastrophization, and have him focusing his mind on what now he can do to change things, right? Not just wishing that it would end, but instead doing actively engaged with what you need to change in yourself, in your situation, macrocosm, microcosm, in order to affect what it is that you need from the situation, whilst also dealing with what is needed from you. And Fabio Lestrani has taken a very different approach here with this Nine of Wands. We see a character, a very muscled character, I have to say, someone looking totally ripped, who is actively creating not a huge fucking wall, not a huge fucking fence or anything like that, but something actually kind of beautiful out of the 9 wands that he has in his hand. So we have that level of activity going on, but we have active creation of boundaries around what you need to feel emotionally stable and present. I'm not saying you're emotionally unstable, but right, getting a handle on everything, which is what you feel to me you want to do. Now, with the moon in reverse and the 10 of swords in reverse, this is absolutely fascinating, because the moon reversed speaks of secrets coming to light. It talks about things being revealed, where they are highlighted but distorted under the upright energy of the moon, and sometimes they are hidden and sometimes they are inaccessible. Holy shit, there's a cat I've never seen in my life. Literally there. I might come and try and break into the house. All of my other cats do that through the window. Anyway, what was difficult to see here over the course of November is turning into this. And I'm actually delighted to see this 10 of swords here too, because hi, a cat was literally at the window just there. No idea who this cat is. It's black and white. Big cat. He just came and stared at me through the window. I think it's a he. It's a big cat. Your catastrophization is ebbing away, right? This way round, we talk about things like humiliation, betrayal, being left for dead by circumstances. I mean, hopefully we're talking like figuratively rather than literally. We're talking about a sense of abandonment, where, you know, a sense of being fucking cold and not really having anything to hold on to but hope. Now, I think subconsciously this is what has been kind of bleeding into your psyche, and it's coming from this emotional reaction that you have that is centered around all of these things over here, right? Now, this would be, were it this way round, what was being revealed is that your worst fears were actually coming to light, right? Now, that's peak discomfort. I think it's probably an understatement to refer to it that way, but that's what it is, right? Definitely peak discomfort. But what follows from that is relief. Blessed relief. This fucking thing is over. It's done. I don't need to worry about that anymore. I need to just heal and allow my mindset to change. But what's actually happening by the light of what is being revealed is that what it is that you're catastrophizing about has been revealed to you. And instead of focusing on an outcome that you're afraid of, we're now actively engaged with something that you actually do want, because you chose this, Sagittarius. Like any situation where you feel trapped, you feel stuck, but bring it back to the fact that you chose this. Now, when people say, I can't do that, what they're saying is, I've already performed a cost-benefit analysis that says the consequences of that are something that I do not wish to shoulder, right? Whether it leads to, whatever it leads to. What we're doing here is completely reframing in the month of November to say, whatever it is that is going on, I chose it. I own it. I'm going to do something with it, right? So if any of you have kids, you know how difficult that can be sometimes. But you chose to have kids. You chose to be a parent. You chose to do all of this. Just that little tweak takes it off the boil of, I fucking hate my life and I'm so fucking tired and everything's awful. And, oh, my child is going through the terrible twos and I'm about ready to throw myself off a bridge. Bring it back to this more stable place of, this is like everything, transitory and fleeting. I just got to keep putting one foot in front of the other because I am committed to this. Like, I'm throwing this in as an example because it's a useful one. Where there are non-negotiables in your life, reframe. But if it doesn't hit the level of non-negotiable, if it is simply that you just haven't thought about it in this way before, then you can start looking at the other things that are going on and going, well, actually, do you know what? I could do that. Because what I see here, Sagittarius, is you freeing yourself not from a situation that you are in, but from an emotional response to it. And that emotional response, I do feel, is in some way slightly distorted. It could be that there is, there are things of trauma kind of bleeding through a little bit here, and they simply have not been picked up by your conscious mind yet. And this would be true if you're feeling any kind of stuck or trapped way, or any kind of, slightly resentful, slightly snippy, slightly, slightly stroppy. It's all internal here. Now, I probably have a lot more that I could say about this, but I think I'm going to save it for the extended. So if you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Vimeo, you can do that on Circle. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. But if that's not your thing, if you don't want to come join us over there, you're very welcome not to. There's no shade at all. This is an internal issue, though, Sag. You are never stuck. You're always one decision away from breaking away from what you've chosen for yourself, right? And I feel often just the awareness of that is enough to completely reframe what is going on in your head and give you your power back, because you feel to me like you're kind of bleeding it out somewhere and you're pissed off about it, understandably. So, we shall go do that. Right. Thank you again for your patience. Apologies for the lateness and getting this to you. I felt pretty like shit, I'll be honest. But you are appreciated. Thank you. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.